In this video, we will learn how to scan the metadata from a source system and syndicate it to Metis DB. So we use the scanner stack to run this job. And we know that in data OS, a stack is always called upon either in a workflow or a service. In this case, a workflow. And a workflow is nothing but another data OS resource. This means while writing the configuration file for this job, we will first declare the configuration properties which are common for all data OS resources. Next, we will declare the configuration properties which are specific to the workflow. And finally, we will focus upon the configuration properties which are specific to the scanner stack. This is how the configuration file is going to be written. Once we have created this particular YAML file, we will be able to apply this YAML file on the command line interface and then wait for the job to get executed. And finally, we will be able to check the ingested metadata on Metis. So let's do this. Let's take the example of a BigQuery database and see how simple and fast the entire process really is. So here I have the configuration file for a BigQuery scanner. Basically, I will start with the configuration properties which are common across all DataOS resources, that is name, version, type, etc. I am not going to go into the details of these fields because we have covered them in a separate video already. Next, we mention the configuration properties which are specific to a workflow, and within workflow we know that either I can schedule the job to run at a regular cadence or I can run it as a single time job. For this particular case, I do not want to schedule my scanner job. I just want to scan the source system once and be done with it. So within workflow, I will obviously start mentioning the details of the DAG and a DAG is nothing but a list of jobs. So the name of the job which I have given over here is BigQuery metadata. And finally, we come to the spec section of the workflow. Now, this is where our journey actually begins because this is the section in which we will specify the scanner specific properties. And this is what we are here to learn today. So within spec section, in order to run the scanner job, I just need to declare these four fields: stack, compute, run as user, and scanner. So stack is obviously the scanner stack and the version of the stack is 2.0. So this is how I will declare it here. Next, compute, the name of the compute which we want to use for this particular job. I'm going to use runnable default, so I have declared that here. Run as user, this particular field is used to declare how you got the access to run this job. So I'm going to run it as a Metis user. And that's it. This is how you fill up these three fields. And the last field, scanner. In this particular field, you need to write about the source connection details. So how you are going to connect to the source system which we want to scan. For my case, I have already created a depot over the BigQuery database which I want to scan. This means I do not need to mention the connection details again. Instead, I can simply write the name of the depot which I'm going to scan. That's all. That's all you need to do, nothing else. This is how simple it is to create the configuration YAML for a scanner job. Now I'm just going to save this YAML file and just apply it on the CLI like we apply the configuration files for all DataOS resources. I have already created a workspace to run this workflow called curriculum. So that is where I'm going to apply this scanner job. Okay, so there you go. We have created this particular workflow. As you know that a workflow might require a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes to get completely executed. So we will have to wait for that time. So in order to keep the track of this workflow, what I have done is use the get command, dataOSCTL get, on this particular workflow, which I have just created with the name of BQ scanner. The flag R allows this runtime to be refreshed on its own, which means once the job has successfully run, the runtime column will here indicate that the job is succeeded. Or if you have made an error, it will show that it has failed. So the best practice while running a workflow is first to use the linter command. I have not done that here because we already know how to use it, and that's not what we are here to learn today. And there we have it. Okay. So the job has successfully run. So now that the job has successfully run, I should be able to see the metadata on Metis. So let's go to the Metis UI. Here on Metis UI, I will go to the sources. I will check the name of the source which I have mentioned in the depot. And I know that the name of my source is scanner demo because that's the name I gave while creating the depot. Here we can see that the database which I have scanned is known by this name. It is the only database which was there in the source system. Within this database, I have all these different schemas which have been scanned. And you can see that I can also get metadata corresponding to the description and owner of different schemas, and also within a schema, description of different tables. The reason I do not have a description over here because these descriptions are scanned from the source system, and if you do not have a description over there, you will not see any ingested description over here. So that's it. Our job here is done. We were able to scan the metadata from a BigQuery database and bring it on Metis. In the next video, instead of scanning the entire database, what we are going to do is either we are going to scan specific databases, or within a given database, we are going to scan for specific schemas or specific tables. That is, while writing the YAML configuration file for the scanner job, I am going to apply certain filters so that the entire database is not scanned on only the schemas and tables which I currently need are shown over on Metis. So thank you.